Oh, shoot, wrong side. If y'all can give me a comment, I'm not sure if TikTok is sharing this, if I'm frozen, if I'm paused. I guess they looked at the description and said, "Oh, if you're not 18, you can't hit it." So I think that's a little weird, TikTok. But again, because I have platforms on platforms, I decided to go on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of my other platforms. And I actually have more than that. And I'm thinking maybe the ancestors had me building up these platforms over the years because they knew you got to tell our message, bitch. Tell people what the fuck happened. Don't let these people walk around. And I said, you know what, ancestors? I got you. I got you. So, oh, my remote is upside down. So I hope y'all can hear me on TikTok. But if TikTok can't hear me, I know it's on my other platforms and I know it will replay afterwards. TikTok does not replay lives. But I can take, because I am Professor Tati, your podcast technology professor, I know how to take this recording and create clips and still get the message over to TikTok. Now, I might end up getting some community violations on some bullshit fuckery because it's TikTok, but we don't give a fuck. We're going to get the message out. And it's late night. It's 10 o'clock. So if you are under a certain age, you should be asleep. But it's Saturday, so your parents let you stay up late. So if you end up coming across this, hey, I'm Auntie Tot. I'm just trying to teach a little history here. And everything that I am saying and give you information on it is located within the Library of Congress. It is not my own personal opinion. It is actually documented history of the United States of America as documented at the Library of Congress in Washington, D.C. And I feel a trip coming on because I need people to know I didn't make this shit up. Okay, so we are going to go, and just to show you all, because I am a woman, I shall not lie. Okay, so disclaimer here. I just came back from dinner. I had one cocktail, but it was a really huge cocktail. It was called the Pour something. I can't, P-O-U-R. I can't remember the rest of it, but I had it at Poor Behavior in Houston, Texas. And the drink came with a small bottle of Prosecco in it. And, you know, I'm taking my anxiety medicine right now because some of this does trigger my anxiety a little bit because it just does. Okay, it's okay. And we got the spirituals going on because this is considered to be a spiritual moment. So please respect my religion as I will respect yours. But know that I'm not religious. I'm spiritual. There is a difference. Religion is a lot of man-made rules and regulations that God never confirmed to the person they're imposing the rules on. So it's a lot of like government and businesses, and church is a business. And I personally believe that the church uses these tactics to be sure that they can cover their bills for a majority of the year. And I might be wrong, but it could be possible that the first fruit offering that we have been so used to giving at the beginning of the year to churches, and I don't know if this is just a Black church thing or if it's everybody's church thing, but when we give these first fruit offerings, and yes, it's in the Bible, but in the Bible, it was a little different because we're not even going to get into that because that's like a whole nother thing, but listen to what your higher spirit says, because you have different spirits that are talking to you and communicating with you, even through people. But when you're tapped into your highest self, your highest and greatest self, you understand whether you're moving right or whether you're moving wrong. And the fact that I'm having this anxiety attack right now in the midst of this lets me know I'm moving right, because I have learned that anxiety is a trick of the devil. So I'm trying to take deep breaths. If you want to see the visuals that I am providing throughout this, because what I talk about, it is not my opinion. It is not what somebody else told me. It's the shit documented by the United States of America. So if you go to the Library of Congress, when people want to say the Tulsa Race Massacre, which was against the Black people, did not occur, the United States has documented every fucking thing that has occurred to Black people. Yet the United States still has not been held accountable for the genocide against Black Americans. And I still recall when they were having the hearings for the people that stormed the fucking Capitol, that one man stood up and said America needs to be responsible for the genocide of African Americans. And although he didn't follow proper protocol, he didn't go through the right channels, he was right. And he faced the charge. And from seeing him, and I think I shared it on my page, I'm not sure, he was talking and there's this agreement in place. And this is how the government constantly keeps silencing the genocide that occurred in the United States. But they keep documenting the bullshit. So I'm going to share my screen right now for the YouTube and Facebook platforms I'm on. TikTok, if you just subscribe to the page, I'll end up posting these. But right here, I am on the Library of Congress website, www.loc.gov. In the search box, it selected everything. Next to that, it says the Tulsa Race Massacre. You have food distribution after Tulsa, Oklahoma Race Massacre. There's that article, January 1st, 1921. You have photos, you have print, you have drawings. You also have smoke billowing over Tulsa, Oklahoma during 1921 Race Massacre. That was also January 1st, 1921. Photo, print, drawing. If it does not have photo, print, drawing, I'll say what it has. So I'm just going, and if the date is not January 1st, 1921, I won't kind of mention that, right? Furniture and Street during Race Massacre, Tulsa, Oklahoma, 1921. Research guide. Tulsa Race Massacre, topics and chronicling America. June 25th, 2019. This happened January 1st of 1921. The research guide did not start until June 25th of 2019, which means we're in 2024. That's about 5 years ago that the United States said, hey, let's do a research guide on it. Blog, how to research the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre, May 26, 2021. Blog, Tulsa's Greenwood District, exploring the impact of the Tulsa Race Massacre, May 27th, 2021. Now we're back to photo, print, drawing, January 1st, 1921. If none of that changes, I'm just going to give you the title. Ruins of houses in African American neighborhood in Tulsa, Oklahoma after Race Massacre. Smoldering ruins of African Americans' homes following Race Massacre in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 1921. Blog, Tulsa Race Massacre, newspaper complicity and coverage, May 27th, 2021. Ruins after the race riots, Tulsa, Oklahoma. We're back to photo, print, drawing. This is just dated 1921. Truck on street near Lighton Hotel carrying soldiers and African Americans during Tulsa, Oklahoma Race Massacre in 1921. Blog, The Tulsa Race Massacre, Relief and the Role of the American Red Cross, May 27th, 1921. This goes on and on and on, but I'm trying to understand with the current state of the United States, because I want to bring this to 2024. We can't keep focusing on shit that we can't change. Let's bring the conversation to today and determine how do we create change for our communities today? Can we strategically plan? If you paid attention, the directions were given. Educate the people. Step one. Step one, educate the people. And the goal is to educate all people, not just Black people, all people, okay? All people need to know and understand what our ancestors went through. Because if the Jews can tell you about the Holocaust, which is their ancestors, why can't we talk about ours? We have our ancestors that went through slavery, came out with absolutely nothing. But we can see, based on 1921, they were doing something right. And people didn't fucking like it. And they said, you know what? We're going to kill all of them. Let's just kill them all. And America is so quick to point out the genocide and the terrorists in other countries. But they refuse to acknowledge and do what they need to do about the terrorists in their own country. Because they won't even acknowledge that we have police officers, that we have FBI agents, that we have CIA agents, that we have judges, that we have prosecutors, that we have lawyers, that we have doctors that are still a part of this secret society that was handed down from generation to generation to generation, just like the wealth. So I want to be sure that we go through some of this to educate our people of what the Tulsa Race Massacre really was. Because we have some people out there that don't even believe slavery really existed. Go to the fucking Library of Congress. It's historical documentation by the United States of what occurred in the United States. Okay? No matter what it is, if it happened in the United States, it's a historical document documented in the United States to tell about the formation and the history of the United fucking States. So over here on the other platforms, TikTok, you're not able to see this. I'm showing smoke billowing over Tulsa, Oklahoma during the 1921 massacre. So I'm going to keep this on the screen for you all on the other platforms because I want you to kind of just see what you're looking at. Now on TikTok, I'm going to kind of help you visualize it. So just think about it. It's 1921. We still have cities developing. They're not fully developed, right? So we're in 1921 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So think present day 2024 Oklahoma. When you think of Oklahoma, you just think about a whole lot of vacant land. Ain't a whole lot going on. Ain't nothing going on in Oklahoma. Just when you think about all of the West. And you think about the East Coast and how it's developed going along 95. All of those locations are developed pretty much. And then when you start to look at the interior states, those are pretty much developed. And when you look at the South, that's pretty much developed. And when you look at the West Coast, where the water is at, that's pretty much developed. But when you look at those interior states, Oklahoma, parts of Texas, Oregon, Arkansas, the places that weren't really near any ocean. And remember, and this is me giving my hypothesis, okay? Remember, It was the 1400s, if you caught the live today where we read chapter 3, and I went through the timeline. It was the 1400s when the first slave was captured. Then it was the 1500s when the transatlantic slave trade started. Well, guess what? If you're picking up slaves and you're taking them somewhere on a ship, stay with me now because this is my hypothesis. When you're delivering those slaves, you need to land your ship near land, but you still need the water. So think of the United States and all of those borders, the East Coast, the West Coast, the Gulf Coast. It's all developed, kind of, right? But that's the perfect drop-off spot. But when you look at the interior, Oregon, Arkansas, Texas, those places that aren't close to water, they're not that developed. But then when you think about it, why would they go in and bomb way over here in Arkansas? I mean, I'm sorry, Oklahoma. Why would they do that? So, of course, if you guys don't know, I'm very AI forward. So I use AI to do a lot of my research, and I go back and I verify. So I asked AI, tell me what you know about Black Wall Street. Black Wall Street refers to the Greenwood District in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Now, remember, I like receipts, so I tied this back to the Library of Congress where it's documented. So this was a prosperous. We know what prosperous means. It means it was booming. It was making money. It was rolling. Prosperous, prosperity. African-American community in the early 20th century. It gained its name due to the thriving businesses owned by Black residents. The area was home to numerous successful businesses, including banks, hotels, and theaters. Hold on, wait. So you mean to tell me we went from being kings and queens to slaves to being released as slaves, and then we went and created a whole community that wasn't near any oceans? And we were prosperous, and we had successful businesses, including banks, hotels, and theaters. But what happened? Why don't we have any conglomerates? Like, where are our large Black corporations? Why don't we have, and I can't even say what I want to say, and if you know me, you know why, so we just gonna skate over that. It says in 1921, tragedy struck when a racially motivated attack known as the Tulsa Race Massacre occurred. A white mob attacked the Greenwood District, resulting in the destruction of homes and businesses. The incident led to significant loss of life and property. The exact number of casualties is uncertain, but it had a devastating impact on the once thriving community. The story of Black Wall Street is both a testament to the resilience and success of Black entrepreneurs and a tragic reminder of the racial violence and injustice prevalent during that time. It remains an important chapter in American history, highlighting the importance of acknowledging and learning from such events. But for some reason, history classes, we're not really teaching this, and we have to start teaching our children and our generations this information. It's documented at the Library of Congress. They can try to cancel it all they want, but until they delete it out of the Library of Congress, it remains factual. And when they were storming the Capitol, what were they really trying to do? Were they really trying to overthrow the government? Because how can you overthrow the government by storming the Capitol? Or was the goal to do something else? Use your own imagination. The next question I asked Chat after that was, is any of this documented at the Library of Congress? And guess what? It is. Chat said yes. Information about the Tulsa Race Massacre and the history of Black Wall Street is documented at the Library of Congress. The Library of Congress hosts various materials, including newspapers, photographs, and historical records that provide insights into the events surrounding the Tulsa Race Massacre and the vibrant community of Black Wall Street. And we wonder why they always want to start teaching us at the Civil Rights Movement. They don't want us to know about all of this other shit that happened. They want us just to remember Dr. Martin Luther King, and they don't want us to remember Malcolm X because they don't want to see these hands, but it's okay. Researchers and historians often rely on these archival resources to better understand the impact of the massacre and its historical context. If you're interested in exploring these materials, you may consider visiting the Library of Congress website or contacting them for specific details on available resources related to this historical event. So I decided, you know what? Let me go to the Library of Congress the same way I did when I started reading To Be a Slave, because I wanted to know, oh, well, he's saying that he got a lot of this stuff from the Library of Congress. Let me see if I can pull something up online. And I did, and I read it directly what an ex-slave had said. So we don't have to go by he say, she say when it's documented. So let's take a look at some of these pictures. Unfortunately, if you are on TikTok, you're not able to see the pictures that are showing on the YouTube and Facebook platforms. So this right here is a picture of furniture in the street during Race Massacre, Tulsa, Oklahoma, 1921. This photo was by Alvin C. Krupnick Company, Tulsa, Oklahoma. And it says the photo shows furniture and other destroyed property dumped in the street during the Tulsa Race Massacre, also called Tulsa Race Riot, when a white mob attacked the predominantly African-American Greenwood neighborhood of Tulsa, Oklahoma. So they were so mad that we tried to break you and give you absolutely nothing, and you still came out on top with everything. We so mad about it, we're going to burn it all. And you can't tell me the United States didn't know this was going to happen, because they probably did it. Just like they did the whole heroin epidemic. It wasn't no black person that said, oh, let me go sell some heroin. A lot of people got drafted into the Vietnam fucking war. And that's where they kind of got stuck on it. And then they came back to the U.S. And yes, we had people, we know who our gangsters are, right? They made money and they kind of control what was going on in the black community. But unfortunately, a lot of that stemmed from people going over to Vietnam and then the United States. But let's go ahead and jump forward. We had cocaine come on the scene, and cocaine was considered to be a rich person's drug, right? Then the whole crack epidemic occurred. And then we had Reagan saying, oh, it's a war on drugs. And then we had this mandatory sentencing federal guideline that came into place. And that pretty much wiped out a huge population of Black men. And it left a generation behind, in my opinion. And my goal is to share these things with our community so we do not repeat history again. Right here is ruins of houses in African-American neighborhood in Tulsa, Oklahoma after the riot. And this looks more like a drawing. And I'm trying to look to see what else I can find beside these pictures and drawings. There's a manuscript of mixed material out here. Don't want to read on that. There's film and video out here. There's audio recordings. Let's see. There was food distribution. So this photograph shows a crowd of African Americans, some standing in line next to exchange booth, receiving food from relief workers after the Tulsa Race Massacre, also called Tulsa Race Riot. when a white mob attacked the predominantly African-American Greenwood neighborhood of Tulsa, Oklahoma. So back to my hypothesis, why is it that Black people were able to create something and other people got mad and they kind of just destroyed it? And I think from that, it was occurring everywhere, because even in Florida, there is a whole town, in the movie Rosewood was made about it, that whole town was demolished simply because a white woman lied. And it almost seems like if Black people are given the opportunity to make something out of nothing, we can, and we can thrive with it. And because that is now documented with the United States, it's understood, look, no matter what condition we give them, these people are blessed. They're going to figure it out and they're going to make a way, because that's what we do. Because we are, in my opinion, spiritually connected to a divine power. When you look back at it, a lot of things that are used and help improve the livelihood of Americans, it was created by a Black person. I grew up thinking that it was a white man that created electricity. I did not know he had 2 slaves that were the actual people. That I didn't know about the refrigerator and the peanut butter and the doorknob. Like, we keep learning, oh, this was a Black person. That's not what they taught us, because the Black person couldn't take credit. We have moments in history where a Black person created something and they couldn't even sue the white person that stole it from them, because a Black person did not have the right to sue a white person. So it's real unfortunate that I feel not only did the genocide of the African-American or Black race in America occur, the systemic racism is still occurring in 2024. So there is no need to keep talking about what happened way back when. We don't even need to go and talk about what happened during civil rights. We need to keep it current with what happened today. And just like when you go to the Supreme Court, in law, if there is another case that occurred and the Supreme Court ruled one way, that becomes the law. Federal law trumps state law. The only way that law is no longer active is if it's overturned, which we've seen that happen with Roe versus Wade. But a lot of people say the real reason Roe versus Wade occurred is because, I hate to say this, because the Rainbow Coalition they always with the bullshit and the fuckery when it comes to my account. So if my account get taken down, they did it. They got the power. Okay, I don't know. Somebody up there in TikTok constantly watches my account. And if I talk about the Rainbow Coalition in any shape, form, or fashion, I get a community violation. However, the federal government wanted to give the rights to the states as far as it came to the Rainbow Coalition rights. And the only way to give that to the states was to undo Roe versus Wade, because the Rainbow Coalition's rights somehow was attached to Roe versus Wade. Now, have I researched to confirm the validity of that? No, because I don't give a fuck about your sexual preference. Like, why the fuck is that a concern? So I feel like if they can talk about their shit and get their way, I need to talk about our shit so we can get our way, because apparently their card is working. Why our card can't work? When we bring our card out to the table, we get knocked down because we pull on the card. But they pull the card all the time. They pull the card so bad that the definition of what a woman is has changed. You can be born with gonads and you are now a woman, because that's how you identify. It is what it fucking is. I don't know what to say. So, in summary, The Tulsa, Oklahoma Race Massacre did occur. It is documented at the Library of Congress. And here's a blog. Let's read through this blog. And it looks like there's even a research guide. So hold on, let's look at the research guide first. Tulsa Race Massacre, topics and chronicling, I don't know if I'm saying that right, chronicling America. From May 31st to June 1st, 1921, Greenwood, a black neighborhood in Tulsa, Oklahoma, is destroyed by white mobs. This guide provides access to material related to the Tulsa Race Massacre and the Chronicling America digital collection of historic newspapers. On May 31st, 1921, Dick Rowland, a black man, is in prison for allegedly assaulting a white woman. By dawn the next day, Greenwood, known as Black Wall Street by some and Little Africa by others, lay in smoldering ruins. The Tulsa Race Massacre results in as many as 300 deaths and millions of dollars in property damage in one of the worst episodes of racial violence in American history. Now, I can agree with that. I can agree with that because in slavery, it was never the goal to take out all the slaves, but the goal in Tulsa was to take out that whole community, just like if we related to Africa and the tribes wanted to take out each other. So, okay, yeah. So that was pretty much the end of it. So it says May 31st, 1921, Dick Rowland is arrested and charged with assaulting a white female elevator operator. Groups of Tulsans armed themselves, some wanting to protect Rowland, others bent on lynching him. A mob assembles at the courthouse where Rowland is being held. Hardware stores and pawn shops are looted of guns and ammunition as the situation spirals out of control. June 1st, 1921, between midnight and 6 a.m., white mobs invade Greenwood, shooting African-American residents and burning homes and businesses. By dawn, the Black District of Tulsa is in ruins. Governor Robertson declares martial law at 11:30 a.m. June 3rd, 1921, martial law is lifted in Tulsa at 5 p.m. June 3rd, 1921, United States Attorney General Daugherty orders an investigation into the riots. June 3rd, 1921, Oklahoma Governor Robertson orders Oklahoma Attorney General Freeling to investigate the situation and preserve evidence for a grand jury. Isn't that an ironic timeline, though? When you think present day, the stuff that we have to go through to get the federal government to research something. And based on this martial law, the United States Attorney General and the Oklahoma governor simultaneously on the same day took action. Interesting. Very interesting. So it is 10:33 here in Houston. I'm going to call it a night, but you guys go ahead and marinate and chew on that. And each one teach one. Let's come with a strategic plan on how we can each educate each other on how to better our communities and create something for the next generation and have them connected to the history of what happened to their ancestors. They're connected to the civil rights movement. They don't need to keep knowing about the civil rights movement. We know that occurred. We know it's true. We know it occurred. But when you have them questioning if slavery really happened, they were told it wasn't real. And this is all races, but including the Black race. You have kids that don't believe it happened. Then you have or it's been written out of history books and laws and things of that nature, but it's still documented at the Library of Congress. So my call to action for this particular live is for you to start viewing the Library of Congress website. So if you can't make the trip to Washington, D.C. to go to the Library of Congress to see it with your own eyes, pull it up on the internet. Take a look at this information. Share it with your children, but be strategic in helping them understand that, hey, we came from kings and queens, and that's the goal to return to. We came from prosperous ancestors, and that's the goal to return to. And we have to first start with helping them to renew their mind. Understand that what you feed your mind is what you see when you look out. And until you change your vision, you may always end up mentally being a slave, because the system is set up for you to fail, not to succeed. If you look just in this week's news, you will see if you reach every mark that is there, no matter how many times they raise the bar, if you reach it, all eyes will constantly be on you. You will constantly face ridicule. You will constantly face opposition. But you have to stay mentally strong and understand that we are better in numbers. And as long as each one can teach one and each one can lean on one, we can revive our community. Our community does not have to be identified as drug-ridden. It does not have to be identified as crime-ridden. It can be identified as a prosperous, affluent community of intellectual Black African Americans, because we are that, and we are intellectual, and we are royalty, as my friend Lanika would say. So thank you all for joining. Please like, share, and subscribe. And for all of you over here on Facebook and YouTube, the analytics show that 97% of you that are watching the podcast do not subscribe. If you could please subscribe, I greatly appreciate it. But if you prefer not to, based on the current content, I completely understand. But if you could at least use word of mouth and just start telling other people about it, because the analytics do not lie. The engagement does not lie. And I thank you for your support from the bottom of my heart. Wish you all a super happy rest of your weekend. And no matter what you do in life, keep manifesting. Love you. Bye.